Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining us today because we're looking at a super practical, genuinely crucial roadmap for anyone trying to legally export coffee from Uganda. We're going to completely demystify a process that honestly often feels like an impossible maze, and we'll break it down into a clear, predictable journey. Whether you're a brand new exporter gearing up to ship your very first container, or you're just trying to wrap your head around the latest regulatory landscape of Ugandan coffee, you are in exactly the right place. Because let's face it, mistakes here don't just cost you a few days. They can easily cost you thousands of dollars in storage fees, absolutely ruin your relationships with international buyers, and cause endless frustration. So let's make sure we get it exactly right the first time. Picture this scenario for a second. Your coffee is beautifully processed, perfectly graded, it's ready to go. Your eager buyer over in Hamburg or Antwerp is just waiting for the shipment. But your container? It doesn't move. It is sitting completely stalled at the airport or in a bonded warehouse, and the days on the calendar are literally just slipping by while those holding fees tick up higher and higher every single afternoon. Why? Well, because there's one crucial piece of paper you don't have. It's a hidden requirement that almost nobody tells new exporters about until it's way too late. Miss this, and your entire operation grinds to a devastating halt. Okay, let's dive into this. To get you perfectly set up, we're going to navigate this bureaucratic maze together. First, we'll uncover the export license trap. Then, the 2 parts and 11 steps that make up the whole process. We'll break down Part A, the performance bond, followed by Part B, the export license itself. Then, we'll lay out the documents and costs. And finally, how to get expert assistance. All right, starting right off with Section 1, the export license trap. We've got to immediately dispel a huge myth that stalls new exporters right out of the gate. If you've been doing your research online, you might be following outdated advice that'll literally get your application rejected before it even gets looked at. Here is the absolute critical correction you must know. The licensing authority is no longer the UCDA, the Uganda Coffee Development Authority. Nope. Under the National Coffee Amendment Act of 2025, all those regulatory functions were officially transferred to MAAF. That's the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, and specifically, you're dealing with their Department of Coffee Development. Honestly, half the guides online still get this wrong. If you apply to the old authority, your paperwork bounces right back and you waste weeks of your time. The license itself hasn't fundamentally changed, but the office, the commissioner you addressed, and the name on all your paperwork absolutely must reflect this new reality, or you're going nowhere fast. Moving on to Section 2, 2 parts, 11 steps. Let's frame this seemingly overwhelming process like a simple map. Getting a coffee export license in Uganda isn't just one giant leap. It's a journey divided into 2 main territories. 11 steps total, split perfectly into Part A and Part B. And I want to immediately reassure you here, this entire journey typically takes just 5.5 to 12 days total. That's it? I mean, 12 days is incredibly fast for international bureaucracy. But you only get that speed if you respect this exact chronological order. Days 1 through 4 are dedicated entirely to Part A, the performance bond. Only once that's completely finished do you move into days 5 through 12 for Part B, the export license. If your documents are clean and you stick to this sequence, the process is actually wonderfully efficient. Which brings us to Section 3, Part A, the performance bond. This is that secret requirement I mentioned at the very beginning. The performance bond is a strict financial guarantee that you'll actually fulfill your obligations as an exporter. Basically, it proves you'll pay the local farmers, deliver the contracted quality and quantity to your buyer, and follow all the rules. You must secure this bond from an insurance company or a bank before you can even touch the export license application. No bond, absolutely no license. So what does this actually look like financially? Typically, it's 2% of your contract value, paid in US dollars. So let's say you have a standard $25,000 container contract. Your bond is about $500. The brilliant part here is that it scales up or down depending on the size of your deal. A bigger contract means a bigger bond, which aligns perfectly with your scaling business. Let's walk clearly through the 4 steps to get that bond. Step 1, apply with a proposal form and your company profile. Step 2, submit your collateral. Now I know, gathering certified articles of association, getting fresh bank statements, pulling audited accounts, and commissioning a valuation report feels incredibly tedious. It's a mountain of paperwork. But this is absolutely non-negotiable. The insurer needs to know you're good for the money. Step 3, you pay that 2% premium we just talked about. And Step 4, you officially obtain the stamped performance bond certificate. All that tedious effort pays off the moment you hold that stamped certificate in your hand. Seriously, keep it safe.
Let's transition to Section 4, Part B, the export license.
With a bond securely in hand, we smoothly shift over to engaging directly with the Ministry of Agriculture. Step 5 is your formal application to the Commissioner of Coffee Development. And here is the vital link you absolutely must attach: that performance bond certificate you obtained in Part A to this application, along with your personal ID, passport photos, and your trading license. Do that correctly, and you hit steps 6 and 7, receiving notification of your approval and actually obtaining the physical approval letter. I cannot stress this enough. When you get that physical letter, guard it with your life. Maybe even frame a copy. It's your ultimate green light. Everything else hinges on this letter. And this brilliantly illustrates where modern tech meets government bureaucracy at step 8. You don't have to go wait in a physical line to figure out how to pay your government fees. You simply log on to the Uganda Electronic Single Window Online. This is the Uganda Revenue Authority system, and it automatically generates the official URA payment registration slip for your license fee. It's fast, fully digital, and totally streamlined, so you don't lose a single day to unnecessary administrative bottlenecks. Now, that slip it generates will be for exactly this amount: 1.5 million Uganda shillings. This is the fixed annual fee required for the coffee export license itself. And I really want you to remember that word, fixed. Unlike your variable performance bond, which changes based on how much coffee you sell, this license fee doesn't change based on your contract size. It is just a flat, completely predictable yearly cost to keep your export business legal and operational. Almost at the finish line. To finish up the procedural steps, step 9 involves taking that URA slip you printed out over to any commercial bank to pay the fixed 1.5 million shillings. Step 10, submit that deposit slip right back to the ministry as your irrefutable proof of payment. And finally, step 11, you obtain your official stamped coffee export license. Congratulations! You are officially, legally ready to export your coffee to the world. You've completely conquered the process. Okay, let's look at Section 5, Documents and Costs. The steps are clear, but let's break down the actual paperwork and the total budget you need to prepare so you aren't hit with any nasty surprises along the way. When you count them all up across both parts of the process, you're going to be touching 22 different documents. Now I know, acknowledging that 22 documents are needed sounds literally terrifying. This is exactly the moment where a lot of aspiring exporters just throw their hands up and quit. But take a breath. Don't quit here, because I promise you we can organize these easily so you aren't drowning in paperwork. Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown is how these 22 seemingly random documents fall neatly into 3 highly manageable themes. The first group is just proof your company is real, your standard incorporation certificate and trading license. The second group is your financials, bank statements, and audited accounts. And the third covers your identification and handling, your national ID, passport photos, and proof you have access to a certified coffee grading facility. See? Suddenly, a chaotic pile of 22 documents just looks like a completely standard business portfolio that you probably already have sitting in a folder on your desk right now. Just to quickly summarize your budget, you've got the fixed license fee of 1.5 million shillings every single year. Then you have the variable bond, which is roughly 2% of your contract. But please, make sure to budget a couple of million shillings on top of that fixed fee just for the variable bond and your collateral setup costs. Why does that setup vary so much? Well, different insurers have entirely different risk models, bank policies, and valuation fees. Having a slight financial buffer in your startup budget will save you massive headaches and keep the whole process moving smoothly. Finally, Section 6, Expert Assistance. You know, even with a clear map, you don't have to navigate this 11-step, 22-document maze entirely by yourself. There is direct hands-on help available to make sure your application sails through without a single costly delay. If you want an expert to review your documents, help you draft your application letter to the MAIF commissioner, or confidently guide you through securing that tricky performance bond, Trade Insider Africa is offering one-on-one consultations. You can actually book a completely free 15-minute one-on-one consultation for guidance using the link right down in the description below. Let them guide you. Also, if you found this helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment your biggest questions down below. And definitely make sure to watch the next video on your screen for even more vital trade insights. So I want to leave you with this final, crucial thought to ponder. When your perfectly graded coffee reaches the warehouse and your buyer is waiting, will your container clear customs smoothly and predictably? Or will you be the exporter whose business grinds to a halt because you forgot the performance bond? The choice is entirely up to how you prepare today. Click that Trade Insider Africa consultation link in the description right now, get your documents in perfect order, and let's get your incredible Ugandan coffee moving out to the world.